Hey guys, and welcome to or back to the Paws in Pursuit podcast with your host Summer Clark. So today I'm going to be speaking along the topic of British versus European agility. So I had a lot of questions a few months back when I asked for podcast episode ideas of people asking me to do an episode comparing the two. So, you know, courses, handling style, stuff like that. So that is what today's episode is going to be about. However, as promised in last week's episode, I'm going to start this episode off with a quick Crufts recap. So, obviously, Crufts was literally just a few days ago. I'm recording this on the Tuesday. I was there on the Sunday. And obviously the Thursday. So I hope you all enjoyed Crufts. I had a great time as always. Can't believe it's been and gone already, and I'm already looking forward to next year. I don't know if that's sad, but anyway, I'm sure a lot of you can relate. So on Thursday, I was in 3 classes. So the first was ABC Agility, and again, you probably all know this, but I'm going to recap it anyway, because why not? I want to relive it, kind of. So ABC Agility, and Arrow won that class. I couldn't really believe it, to be honest. Like, I came out thinking, oh, we've literally just gone clear in that class, and we won it by a good few seconds. So, yeah, I was buzzing about that. I'm so proud of him. He was so, like, I tell you now, he was crazy. He was so fast. I swear he's faster at Crufts than any other competition. Like, to say he wouldn't even run at a normal competition, like, a year or two ago, is crazy, because he loves it. I think every professional photo that was taken of him, he's got his mouth open because he was barking. He absolutely loved it. So yeah, we won that one. Then the next one was 18 to 24 jumping, and I didn't realise, but that is all heights combined. And we came second to a large collie that is incredibly fast, and it was only by a second, so I am literally over the moon. To come second, all heights combined, is unbelievable. Like, I just can't believe it, and there is more for him to give as well. Like, I just couldn't believe that. Anyway, then we had graduate agility, and I loved the run, but I was kicking myself because basically, as I've explained in my contacts episode, if you haven't seen that, go back a few episodes, and I did an episode debating running versus stock contacts. So for Arrow's running dog walk, it's taken us a while to get to the point where he is confident enough to go fast and extend over it to hit deep. But what I've noticed is the further ahead I am of him on the dog walk and the harder I push, the deeper his hit is, and the more likely he is to hit it, and not to get marked on it, obviously. So that's what I do every time. But for graduate agility, it was dog walk and then jump to the left. So it was kind of a soft turn. I haven't taught those yet because I've been just working on getting his confidence on a straight exit, because if I start, I didn't want to introduce turns too soon because it could knock his confidence back, make him slower again, and he wouldn't hit. So I just haven't been doing that. So I was like, you know what, I'll still get ahead of him, push him as normal to get that deep hit, and then hopefully just turn him like around me for that jump. Anyway, considering ABC Agility was dog walk in the same position and then into the tunnel in the same position, what did he do? I was pushing along the dog walk in front of him, and as he came off it, I went left, but he'd seen the tunnel he was going. Basically, the best way to handle that would have been to hang back. Don't push the dog walk as hard and say left as he's coming down it, but obviously I haven't taught soft turns, and I know he hits better when I push it, so that was just a risk I took and it didn't pay off. So that is something we need to go work on, is turns off the dog walk and him still hitting nice and deep and extending even when I am next to or behind him on the dog walk. So that's given us some homework, but after I corrected that, the rest of it was absolutely perfect. Literally just insane. I think he was the fastest in that run all day. Obviously, he'd had 2 runs to get used to it, and then that was his 3rd run, and he was just on fire. He loved it. And his seesaws were perfect, and we've been having some seesaw issues, but both of his seesaws were perfect, so super happy. And then Sunday was Pairs Day. So that was all our runs on Thursday. Sunday was Pairs Day with Becca and Swift, and Swift just got 5 on her seesaw. It was, again, a turn off it. The courses were so hard. Like, I thought the courses were so hard, and most of the other juniors I spoke to also agreed the courses were really hard. Like, for YKC, that's the hardest YKC courses I've seen. There was traps after literally every obstacle, and for an inexperienced and young dog like Arrow, or just a fast dog like Arrow and Swift, it was very difficult. The jumping course was slightly harder than the agility, I believe, and Arrow did everything perfectly except one bit where it was jump, and then you had to slightly pull in, but not too much because there was a tunnel there, and there was an A-frame there, so you had to slightly pull in. Again, sorry if you're not watching on the YouTube, I'm kind of demonstrating it, but it was jump, A-frame straight there, but you had to pull off that and go over this jump here, but there was a tunnel here. So you couldn't pull off, if you pulled off too much in the tunnel, if you didn't pull off enough A-frame, you had to get that exactly right. And just before that, you had to do a front cross here, or a blind. So I did the front cross, made it perfect timing, but then as we sprinted towards that jump, Arrow was next to me. I wasn't ahead of him because he's a very fast dog. And I didn't want to leave him too much on that front cross either because there was a dog walk there. So if I'd left him on that turn, he would have gone straight up the dog walk. It was jump, dog walk, but you had to do jump, avoid the dog walk and go over the jump, avoid the A-frame, go over the jump, but also avoid the tunnel, if that makes sense. So I got the front cross in to stop him going in the dog walk, ran forward for this jump, he took it, but obviously the A-frame's right there, so I hung back a bit, called him, Arrow left, and as I went to send him over that jump, he slipped in front of me and went in the tunnel. So that was an E, obviously. But even that, because most people got E's, because the course was so hard, we still came fourth. So me and Becca were super pleased with that, quite unexpected after the E. But yeah, again, just corrected that and the rest of the course was perfect. Only going in one trap out of about 7 on that course. I'm pretty impressed with Arrow, to be fair. But yeah, go away and train traps, I suppose. But yeah, that was Crufts for us. Did a bit of shopping. I've ordered him a new Equifleece, you know, the one with all the legs in it. So I'm super happy about that. He had one when he was a baby, but it ripped, and he grew out, as he was growing out of it, it ripped, I'm pretty sure, in a nice dark green colour. So that is exciting. That should be coming sometime this week. I've actually got a parcel coming today, actually. I ordered a flask, but yeah, I'll probably miss it doing this podcast, but oh well. You didn't need to know that, but anyway, yeah, that was Crufts for us. I literally only bought one thing. Got a lot of freebies, though, so that was cool. Got some semi-moist freebies, which is amazing, because I use it in the manners minder. Literally, though, I just love, like, Crufts and meeting up with everyone, like, just seeing everyone. I talked to a few of you podcast listeners that came up to me, so thank you to everyone that came up to me and said that you watched the podcast. That means a lot to me. I met a few of you that I haven't met before, which was amazing, and, you know, sort of spoke to a lot of you that I've spoken to, like, a year ago at Crufts or whatever, again. So, yeah, reconnected with all the besties, which was amazing. So that was Crufts. I did vlog. I'm not going to lie to you, I forgot to start vlogging until we got to Crufts, so I missed the whole morning. Lol. On the Thursday, but I tried to vlog the rest of it. It was so loud and chaotic, so I didn't actually speak in my videos, so I'm just going to do voiceovers. And it's so hard to remember to pull out the camera in such an environment like that when you're so busy and like talk to people, and I don't want to be that person who's constantly just there with their phone all the time. So I did get a good amount of footage, and then Sunday I remember to do the morning as well, and a bit after the show as well, so I will work on that vlog. I have a lot to do and sort coming up and stuff like that, so I am busy, so it might be a few weeks until that's actually done. But I am working on it, so subscribe to me on YouTube so you don't miss that when it comes out, and I'll let you guys know when it's out on all the socials, which I will link in the description, and also I'll put them on the screen at the end of the video, or now. I'll do it now, just in case you miss them, and at the end of the video. Shameless plug. Yeah, so that is that, and now, without further ado, let's get on to the topic of the episode, which is British versus European agility. And just a quick disclaimer before I dive into it, this is all pretty much my opinion. Don't at me for my opinion, it just is what it is. Oh god, my phone's sliding, sorry about that. So it's all my opinion. I'm not an expert in literally anything as far as that goes, but this is just what I think of the situation, so everyone has their own views on it, but this is mine. So we'll start off by saying European style agility has taken precedence over the last few years over British style agility, which I'm sure everyone can agree on. In my opinion, I think that handlers feel compelled to copy what the top trainers are doing. So, for example, if all the top trainers are doing British handling for however many years, that's what the majority of agility handlers will do, because they think, well, top trainers are doing it, it must be the best way to do it. And then, obviously, the top trainers shift to European style handling, and therefore all the handlers go, oh, all these top trainers are doing this, let me do this as well, because I want to be like these top trainers, so it makes sense. And to be honest, since that's happened, I believe that many handlers have realised that it is actually more effective, and it complements modern day agility much better than British style agility, so handling courses and stuff like that. And the success displayed by European handlers at international events may have encouraged the UK to follow suit. So I'm thinking, if our country's going to all these international events and handlers from European countries are, handling different ways to us and tackling the European courses better than us, that probably encouraged us to think about shifting towards more what they're doing to improve our own game. So they're my sort of starter little points that I think about the difference between the two. But let's get on to courses now. So for me, from what I've observed and all the courses I've ran, British courses are smaller than European courses. They're usually squarer, so where, like more of a square shaped rather than rectangular. Like European courses can be quite long and spacious, whereas British I think are small and the rings are sort of squarer. They're often tighter. So, the obstacles are usually a bit close together. You've probably got not much more than 5 metres between a lot of the obstacles. The lines are often a bit harsher, so there's obviously more sort of sudden turns or sharp angles and stuff like that. I'd say they have less of a requirement to open up and run for both the dog and the handler. So it's more about tackling little tricky bits than it is actually running and, sprinting down lines and stuff like that. And I'd say they don't require as much independence from the dog. So, you can kind of stay with them all the time and be right there with them. Whereas European courses, there's big open gaps and you need to move off and let the dog complete skills on their own. And often I think British courses aren't quite as safe as European. I think a lot of, like I said, it's hard to say about all of this because I think we in Britain are now using European, we have taken on the role almost of European agility. Like we're doing that now. But, originally I think British agility courses weren't as safe because of these harsher lines and angles. So European courses then, I'd say they seem larger, rectangular, like I said, longer and not that square. They're more open, so they've not got all these tight bits. They are quite open and spacious. There's a lot of room between obstacles. There's probably up to 10 metres between obstacles. Obviously 10 is the max and 5 is the min. But I would say European courses, go more towards that 10 metres than the 5. Like British probably stick at about 5, if that makes sense. Again, it really depends upon the course and the judge who set it and stuff. But in general, this is what I reckon is the case. The lines are more flowing. So you've not got those harsh angles as such like you can find in British courses. And I reckon the courses are often safer because of that, so the lines are more flowing, there's better entries onto contacts, and everything's just more in the dog's line, if that makes sense, the natural line, should I say. And I also reckon that these courses have more of a requirement to run, so for both the dog and the handler, there's a lot of running involved, sprinting, obviously with it being more open, and also they require a lot more independence, like I said, from the dog, the handler sending the dog to complete things by itself. As the handler moves off, you really have to make the next part of the course, which I personally love a good European course that's like that because it's so much fun. That is kind of the main difference between the courses that I've noticed, but like I said, British agility has changed to sort of incorporate all these European styles of courses, so I think the whole world is going to be just fully European agility wise in the near future. But that's pretty much everything I reckon about courses. So now on to handling. So there's slightly more to handling, I reckon, as far as the difference between the two. So I reckon British handling includes manoeuvres that involve looking at and facing the dog at all times. For example, a pivot, a front cross, or a rear cross. And so, you kind of don't really leave the dog as much. So you would face, like a pivot, you turn with the dog, facing the dog at all times. Front cross, again, face the dog at all times. Rear cross, again, you're looking at the dog, maybe not looking at you, but you're still looking at the dog as it's doing it. I kind of think British handling is kind of safer. Like, a funny thing I've noticed is if I say I need to go clear on a course for whatever reason, if there's 2 rounds and I need double clear, often I might opt for the British manoeuvre because it's safer. Because like a pivot, because I'm facing the dog at all times, I know exactly if it's about to go off course or something. There isn't a split second where I'm not literally, it's almost babying the dog over the things. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of something I kind of think about British handling. And I also think it's staying with the dog for longer. So, for example, running next to or slightly ahead of the dog, and as a result, performing a rear cross instead of a blind, for example, as the handler isn't far enough ahead to get that blind in anyway. So it all kind of makes sense, it all kind of comes together. The whole style of British handling kind of means you have to use these kind of manoeuvres. But then European, in comparison, involves manoeuvres that involve looking or facing away from the dog more, and leaving the dog to complete a behaviour independently. For example, a blind. So you have to send the dog to complete a behaviour, and to get a blind in, you have to sprint ahead and complete the blind. While you're performing the blind, you're not looking at the dog, you're trusting the dog to be following you after it's completed the behaviour. So examples are a blind, like I said, a ketchka. So obviously you send the dog to the jump, do a ketchka, and as you're doing the ketchka, you are looking away from the dog, ready to pick it up on the other hand. Your dog could have gone over that jump and gone somewhere else. You don't know. You're trusting it to, you've taught it the skill. You're trusting that skill. You're doing the ketchka, and you're moving off in the opposite direction, trusting the dog to come to the hand you're collecting it in after performing the exercise, so doing that tight wing wrap. A German, so that's sending around the back, but as you do that, we often send around the back and we run off. We collect on the other hand, but first we run off. So often you see handlers send their dog to do a German. The dog's about to go over the jump, but the handler's already running off. So often mistakes with Germans can be the dog not committing to the actual jump as the handler's running off and just running straight past the jump. If the handler moves off too early for that dog's skill set and level of that skill. And then obviously you've got the SERP, which is the German, but without the blind, if that makes sense. Like you collect on the same arm, you don't switch arms for collection. So there's some examples. And in my opinion, European manoeuvres are kind of a more flowing alternative to British manoeuvres. So for example, performing a threadle wrap instead of, so that's an in, sending round, you keeping out the way and letting the dog perform the behaviour. Instead of, say, front crossing, sending the dog around on the correct side, the same side of you, and then following the dog around the wing with a pivot. So that's kind of just an alternative, and to be honest, both ways have the exact same outcome, but the European version, the threadle wrap, is actually easier for the handler, requires less movement, keeps the handler out of the way, and leaves the dog with all of the space. It just stops the handler getting in the way a lot, I reckon. I also think European handling is more of leaving the dog as the handler moves off, runs ahead, and, as a result, performs a blind, for example, as they are far enough ahead. So like I said earlier about blinding, that's sending the dog to the obstacle and running off, doing the blind and trusting the dog to be performing the exercise and following you and picking up on your correct arm. So, yeah, that is, again, there's not tons to say about the two, but they're pretty much what I have noticed difference-wise about them. So, overall, I think European courses and handling promote more speed than British courses and handling, and the European approach marks the direction in which agility is moving in. So, overall, I think European style agility is faster, more furious, there's more skills involved now than British handling, and for that reason, again, I think that is the direction that agility is progressing in. European agility is the way we are going in, and as I said earlier, I believe that every country will adopt that European style of agility, which I think is a good thing because I personally enjoy the courses way more. I think they're safer, the handling manoeuvres are more efficient in my opinion, keeps the handler out of the way, stuff like that, and promotes speed. So it's definitely a positive thing in my opinion. So yeah, and I also put the European courses are more dog friendly in the sense of safety and lines, flowing lines, nice exits and entries onto and off of equipment. However, and this is just to end it off, I just think I need to put this, that there is no right or wrong way to handle as long as it works for you and your dog. So like I said in the beginning, us handlers do have, we do tend to follow what everyone else is doing because we think, oh, everyone else is doing it, it must be the right thing, or the top trainers are doing it, it must be the right thing, and obviously you want to be like them. But if you prefer British handling, then don't feel pressured to use European handling just because it's the thing to do and it's popular and everyone else is doing it. If you've always handled your dog in the more British style of handling and it's working and you don't have any issues with that and you're going clear and you're winning and you're getting fast times, then stick with it. Why not? If it works for you, then there's absolutely no reason why you have to, follow the crowd and progress with everyone else because it's already working. So don't fix what's not broken, if that makes sense. The best handlers will adapt and evolve according to their own personal needs and strengths. So instead of doing something just because other handlers are doing it, you understand your own needs. So for example, if you have a steady dog that needs you there with it all the time, like with Ethel, often British style handling suited Ethel more because she was slower, and if I moved off and left her to do things on her own, she wouldn't commit to the obstacles, and it would slow her down because I was that far ahead. I had to stay just a tiny bit in front of her and always be right there with her. Like I had to run up to tunnels and be right there to get her in and right there to get her out. Pivots were often better than ketchkers because it meant I was moving. I just kept moving with her. I was always moving with her on the same path as her, if that makes sense. But with Arrow, I'd just get right in his way if I used British handling. So threadle wraps and ketchkers and stuff and blinds means I can leave him to do the behaviour and get off to where I need to be in order to beat him because he's such a fast dog. And it also means I'm not going to get in his way to slow him down because he is so fast and I'm never going to be as fast as him. So it depends on the dog, 100%. Also, some handlers might find that they fall over themselves if they do like pivots or stuff like that. Also another thing, rear crosses were no good for Ethel because, one, I didn't need them because I was always way ahead of her to get in a blind or front cross or something. But with Arrow, often rears are necessary because, say, he is so fast, if I can't make a blind or a front cross, then I can use that rear. Also, him being ahead of me does not slow him down, apart from the dog walk, like I said earlier. But that's something we're working on, just on course. Like, if I send him over a jump and say left, but I'm on his right, he's going to do that just as fast as if I was on the left. But with Ethel, if I did that, she would go over it and then she'd be really slow around that wing because I was behind her and she needed me ahead of her for that chase to, get her driving. So, again, it's all dependent on each dog. So the best handlers, again, will develop their own handling style to suit their dog. And you don't have to do one or the other either. Like, I include a mix of both. I'll do rears, but I'll also do Germans. And I feel like most people are like that. So, again, it depends on the course. And everyone knows, and like I said earlier, British versus European, there's often a European alternative to a British handling manoeuvre. And you just, as you get to know your dog, as you run them more and more, and yourself and your partnership as a whole, you will figure out which version suits both of you better and utilise them in every course you come across, and that will make you more successful overall in the long term. And the correct way to handle is the way that makes the dog the fastest and the most consistent on course. So if we strip back all the finer details about agility that we all obsess over because we love it so much, and there's nothing wrong with that, but at the end of the day, the fastest dog with the least faults wins. That is the goal. So whatever gets you there is correct for you and your dog. So do that. And it does take experimenting and it does take going wrong. And like I've said in previous episodes, it does take failing and doing the wrong things and thinking, for God's sake, I should have done this handling manoeuvre instead of that handling manoeuvre here, and the dog would have picked up on it better and I wouldn't have got faults or whatever. We've all been there, but then you learn and think, next time I come across that kind of setup on a course, I know exactly what handling manoeuvre to use. Whether it's British or European, it doesn't matter, but you have learned that lesson. And don't let anyone tell you how to handle. Obviously there's a fine line, so I think I was saying this on an episode recently. Yes, I was. Last week's episode, I said about not letting random people, like who you're walking the course with, tell you how to handle the course because only you know your dog and your partnership. And obviously take inspiration and advice from people, especially like top trainers. Listen to them, obviously. You go to them, you pay them for that reason. But don't, also listen to yourself. You know your dog even better than these top trainers often, unless you train with them like all the time. But, create an opinion from your own trials and observations. So also while you're at shows, watch instead of just sitting in the car on your phone for hours in between your runs, watch. So go out and sit or stand by the ring and watch other people handle. You'll probably learn some new manoeuvres you haven't tried yet. You'll see how you'll see how their dog responds to it, and pick people with dogs that are a similar build, similar speed, similar drive, similar character to your dog, and watch how that handler of that dog handles it, and take inspiration from it, or learn what not to do, stuff like that. So there's a lot of learning to do from observing, and then go trial it yourself. Don't be afraid to go wrong. Give it a go and you will learn, and you will be, even in a year or so, don't rush. Again, I've said this before, don't rush. You'll only get better and better the more mistakes you make and the more you try different things. And to be honest, our dogs don't know where in the world our handling styles originated from. As long as they understand it, then nothing else matters to them. Like I said, it's us that go, oh, European, oh, British. Our dogs have no idea. They really don't. They don't even know what Europe is or Britain or anything. They don't know and they don't care. They just follow our lead, and we should learn to know what they follow us best doing. So yeah, that is pretty much my episode on British versus European handling. If you've got any questions, feel free to DM me with those. And yeah, that's it. So keep sending me ideas for the podcast, guests you'd like to have on. Haven't had a guest in a while, but I'm working on it. Everyone's been busy with tryouts and Crufts and other things happening at this time of year. It's a very busy and exciting but stressful time of year for most agility handlers. So coming on a podcast episode definitely isn't everyone's priority, but there will be more guests. But keep giving me ideas. I really appreciate it. Keep giving me feedback on the podcast. Constructive criticism. I really don't mind it. In fact, I enjoy it. Things I'm doing well, things you think I can improve on, what you don't like, what you like, blah, blah, blah. And make sure to follow me on all the socials. They are here on the YouTube video, and I will link them down below in the description on, YouTube as well, and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And yeah, just keep up with me on all of that because I'm active on it every single day. If you could, I would love it if you could leave me a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify for the podcast. That would mean the world to me. Ideally 5 stars. You lot that came up to me at Crufts and said you're really enjoying the episode, put it down below. Put it in the reviews, please. That would be amazing. And yeah, I will speak to you guys next week, and keep looking out for that Crufts vlog that I'm going to be uploading to YouTube very soon. So yeah, thank you for listening, guys. Bye.